We acted, above all, in the interests of the nation. We had to choose between the stability of Mali and chaos, and we chose stability. We had to choose between disorder and cohesion, between the forces of defence and security, and we chose cohesion between the forces of defence and security.
For more on this, we're joined by TRT world producer Mucahid Durmaz, who's reported extensively on West African affairs. So, Mucahid, as we saw, it was just in August that a coup toppled the government, and now we see another military ouster of that interim government. So, a coup on top of a coup. And we just heard there the new acting president, who is an army colonel, say he had no choice. This was a decision of cohesion over disorder. But we also know that he's not happy about some military officials being excluded from the new government. So do the Malian people accept this?
Well, yeah, as you said, the Gota will meet today with the regional African leaders. I believe the meeting will be held around 14 GMT. So in the previous coups, the sanction imposed by the regional and Western powers specifically forced the military to share power with civilians. But this time we will see whether the regional leaders will choose to cooperate this time with civilians or impose strict sanctions on the military. So we are aware that the US and its friends already announced that they would impose sanctions, especially yesterday, French President Macron openly threatened Mali by pulling the French soldiers out of the country. Gota as well made an announcement. The Prime Minister said that he will be appointed in the upcoming days a new Prime Minister and will carry out a broad consultation between the different sections. And over the past few days, we heard multiple times that the Prime Minister might be chosen from the M5 movement. That is pretty interesting because the movement is essentially an umbrella organization that gathers opposition groups, including the unions and anti-government groups. They played a huge role in the anti-government protests last year against the Keita, followed by the coup, of course. But unlike last time, when the group excluded from the top positions in the traditional government, transitional government, pardon me, this time around, the group is actually not entirely opposed to the idea of working with the government. The spokesman said that the M5 would put forward one of its members as a prime minister. That could be played out as a possible solution because having a sort of like having a member from opposition group will definitely soften the domestic and foreign criticism of the military. As for the Malian people, the pictures looks actually very grey. Especially the people in Malakko, capital city of Bamako we spoke to, they now have a sense that whoever has the guns have a power in Mali.
So if there is an appointment of a prime minister from the opposition, will that also help the situation in the eyes of the Malian people, or do they see this as just one more step away from democracy?
Well, it's important to note that there is indeed instability in the country. There is a civil war. There's a huge war. There's various militant groups actually controlling the nearly 2/3 of the country. So the Malians actually in the civil war, and they suffering from the crippling economic consequences of that war. So. According to tradition, the presidential and parliamentary elections will be held in March 2023. That's a hope that everyone has, but the problem is that, as I said, the state unfortunately doesn't have a control of its territories due to the active militant groups that are pretty active in northern and central Mali. Well, last coup, it was in 2020, as I said, and that followed by a huge anti-government protest over the chronic corruption and the government's failure to deal with militant groups. But this time around, especially in the capital, Bamako, apart from just a few hundreds people who came up to support the army, there is no wider sort of support for the military coup this time.
Mucahid, thank you for that.